Are you ready to discover the secrets behind striking coach Sean Madden's journey from Muay Thai competitor to the upper echelons of coaching in Muay Thai and MMA? In this episode, we explore his transformative training under legends like Dwayne Bang Ludwig and how he balances Muay Thai and MMA athletes striking coaching for Team USA Muay Thai and MMA athletes like Corey Sandhagen, Drew Dober, Mallory Martin, and many, many more. Plus, we get insider tips on running a successful gym and the explosive growth of Easton Training Center's Muay Thai programs. If you're enjoying this episode, please give me a subscribe, a like, and a comment. Really appreciate everyone's support. Now, let's get it. Back to Fight Capital, where we step into the ring of combat sports business. I'm your host, Ryan Rapaport. Today, I'm joined by Sean Madden, and this is a special episode for me, having trained under him previously. Sean is a dedicated Muay Thai coach based in Denver, Colorado at the Easton Training Center. Growing up in Colorado Springs, Sean pursued a degree of finance before discovering his passion for Muay Thai, and his journey has led him to teaching classes since Dwayne Bang Ludwig left Easton, and he has been coaching ever since. Known for his commitment to teaching quality technique and instilling a hard work ethic, Sean has trained top athletes like Drew Dober, Bojan Velukovic, Lauren Murphy, Mallory Martin, and many, many more. Thanks for joining me today, Coach. How are you, and where are you joining from?
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you for the great intro. I appreciate that. We're here in Denver right now, kind of in between trips. We got Greece coming up for the Muay Thai World Championships next week, but I'm home for a couple more days.
Yeah, well, you're a world traveler. I know you were in Germany, everything going on with Octagon all over the place there too, man. It's been really cool to see.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. The Muay Thai and MMA have kind of taken me all over the world a couple different times so far. So it's something that originally when I started out, I didn't anticipate doing, but here we are now, and it's been a great journey.
Well, like you said, it's a crazy journey too. I mean, it's really funny when you think of someone who's studying finance, becoming a Muay Thai coach. I think that transition's fascinating. And when did you first know that Muay Thai coaching would be your future?
Yeah, well, it's funny. The finance degree ultimately has proved to be useless, at least this far in my journey. But, there's probably a couple of things that I could have picked up in there that have carried over. But that was definitely quite a bit of a left turn from the finance that I was studying back in university. But I would say coaching didn't really come on, where I was like, I'm going to do this full time until towards the back end of my fighting career. Obviously, I was pursuing fighting first, and I'll be the first to tell you, I definitely wasn't a world champion. I wasn't the best fighter out there, but I did love fighting. And I loved kind of the cerebral approach and the cerebral game of competing. I would say closer to maybe like 2014, 2015, when I started to kind of rack up some injuries. I was spending more time on the sidelines than in the ring, and there were people starting to kind of ask me to help coach. That's really when I started to kind of make that transition over to coaching full time. And I was like, I'm really going to just invest my time in helping others get better. 2016, October 2016 was my last fight. And then after that, really full time into coaching. But that process had started already in late 2014, 2015 for me.
Well, you trained under Dwayne Bang Ludwig in the Bang Muay Thai system, and that must have been an incredible experience. I mean, everyone who's come through Easton and Elevation when he was there and since then, what do you think were some of the most impactful lessons that you learned while you're training with him?
Yeah, it was awesome getting to train under Dwayne. I trained under him in a time I was kind of fortunate in a way where he was still fighting actually when I first started training with him. So there's Dwayne that people know now with his Bang Muay Thai system, and he's got so many affiliates out there, and he's done such a great job of kind of spreading his philosophies of combat sports to a lot of different people. But I had known him at a time that had happened, that had not come up yet. He was still competing. He was still in the UFC when I was training under him, and I even had the opportunity to kind of be in some of his camps for his last couple of UFC fights. I would say the biggest thing that I really took away from Dwayne, first and foremost, he's a combat sports genius. He has such a bright mind for fighting and for combat sports. it was really a privilege, looking back, to be able to study under him for so long and so closely to him. But his mindset for competition and his mental preparation and the things that he did to get ready to fight, compete, and to win, really for me were unlike anything I'd ever seen at the time. And even to this day, his mindset for competing and fighting in general was very unique. Just the way that he approached the sport, the way that he approached training, the way that he approached sparring, and the way he approached the fight itself was pretty amazing. I would definitely say that mindset is not for everyone. In fact, I know it's not for everyone, because now that I'm a coach and I work with a lot of different types of athletes, that mindset is not sustainable for all types of athletes. But what it did for him and where it got him in the sport and what he was able to pass on was really pretty incredible. So I would say, and that's not to diminish anything that he taught me, because everything that I learned from him, from the Muay Thai and the combat sports side was incredible, the techniques, the concepts. But I would say the thing that stands out the most and sticks with me the most to this day is the mental preparation that he had for fighting.
Yeah, I'd love to drill on that too, because the physical training, which I know you're really pushing the people there, is so crucial, but so is the mental resilience. Share how you just balance those strategies for the athletes that you're helping with both those aspects.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a lot of kind of being in the fire for these guys and really forging them through adversity. But on the other side of that, if you do that too often, you're going to break people before they ever step into the ring. So for me as a coach, it's understanding the athletes that I'm working with. It's understanding maybe their current limitations, and also their potential, and knowing that they can push through certain situations. There's a lot of trust involved between a coach and an athlete. And I think good coaches will understand that they know where they can push their athletes. There are a lot of places, especially in fighting, that athletes haven't gone before, and they need someone that they can trust to take them to those places where they're not going to get hurt. So that to me is a lot of successful coaching, and balancing that is, hey, look, we are going to push hard. You are going to be in tough spots, but I'm going to make sure that you're not getting hurt. And when the athletes go through those situations and they come out on the other side and they're better for it, that builds that mental resiliency. We always want to have for our fighters. I never want them stepping into a fight and saying, man, I've never experienced this before. I don't know what this feels like. Right. And not just the intense part of it of like getting hit hard necessarily, but just the feeling of being tired, the feeling of pressure, the feeling of pressuring the opponent, all of these things. We want to have some type of benchmark of, man, I've been here before. Right. We train hard for a reason. I can get through this. I'm not going to let this kind of like crumple me in this moment. So, it's very difficult. It's a very fine line to walk. And I would be lying if I said I haven't stepped over that line a bunch of different times in my career as a coach. That's just part of the journey. And every athlete is different too. But I think that's kind of what we strive for. And the general overarching principles are, we just want to make sure by the time we step into the ring, nothing to us is unfamiliar.
Yeah, man, I have this really vivid memory. I forget his name off the top of my head, but there was a guy, it was a long day of sparring, one of those Saturday sparring sessions, and he was competing the next week or the week after, and it was his last hard session. And I remember you were pushing him, holding pads, and then like the last 5 strikes were you sweeping him, like putting him on his ass, and not super hard, but he was at that point of exhaustion. You were pushing it that much further. And I remember him, great kid too, but he was getting up slow and like pushing. But that for some reason just stays ingrained in me as a moment. He went and won, the following weekend. So, that speaks to it. And you're training all these athletes for these high level Muay Thai competitions, world champions, regional champions. What are the key elements that you're emphasizing in that specific training for Muay Thai?
Yeah, that's a great question. For those guys, especially at such a high level, we prepare for everything. Something that I really try to impress on these athletes is there's a lot of things that are out of our control when it comes to fighting. There's a very few things that we can control, which is like, our focus, our effort level, things like this. I'm going to throw a lot of chaotic things at these athletes. The fight game itself is going to throw a lot of chaotic things at them. I really try to impress on them just to focus on their own effort, their own attitudes, and make sure that they're locked in upstairs. There's always, every single fight, there's a million different excuses as to why you could lose a fight, and some of them are valid sometimes. We need to find the reasons that we can win the fight. So that's, that's a theme that carries through our training. Like I said before, for the Muay Thai guys, there's a lot of different styles of Muay Thai. There are, each athlete is going to have their own style too, but, we really train these guys to make sure that they understand all of the different styles that they might see in the ring based on the fight that we have coming up, and how we can negate those styles. And as round by round goes, if we need to adjust our style, we're going to adjust our style too. So not being too, not holding too firmly to a specific game plan, to a specific thing that we have in our mind, and just being fluid and being adaptable. I think that's a really big key in the fight game, is being able to be adaptable and to pivot when we need to pivot. So for those athletes, we do our best to make sure that we kind of relay that to them, and make sure we carry that through training, so that when we get to the fight, same as I said before, nothing is going to surprise us. If we have to change the game plan, we can change the game plan without hesitation, without doubt from the athlete, without doubt from the coaches. We can just move to plan B right away without any extra thought attached to it.
Hey, everyone. Quick favor to ask. Did you know that nearly 80% of the people tuning in right now aren't subscribed yet? That subscribe button down below is what powers me every week to keep putting out these podcasts. Big shout out and thank you to everyone that's been supporting me for this. I couldn't do it without you. If you're enjoying the content, please subscribe below. It means the world to me. And for everyone supporting me, thank you so much. Now, back to the show. I mean, I think of how well respected you are in the Muay Thai community, which is considered upper echelon, not just trying to blow smoke up your ass. I mean, anyone who knows you most of the time. And when I think of that too, and what you've been able to accomplish in the MMA community, I mean, Corey Sandhagen, Drew Dober, everything that Bojan and Mallory Martin are accomplishing now in Octagon. I mean, coaching those two sports, I mean, they are two separate sports in the end, and those world-class MMA athletes, they've required different approaches. And how are you tailoring the training for the MMA people versus the Muay Thai?
Yeah, that's a great question. I live in both of those spaces, and like you said, at least in my opinion and how I approach them, there is not a lot of overlap. For the most part too, specifically for me, I work with a lot of professional MMA athletes, and then a lot of amateur Muay Thai athletes. Even if they are amateurs competing at the highest level or on the world stage, they're still amateurs. So that alone, taking out the equation of, the professional MMA athletes, there's money involved, right? There's compensation. Sometimes there's big purses, right? Boyan just won the Octagon tournament last year, which was the 1 million euro tournament that they had, right? And then we have athletes on the other side, the amateur Muay Thai guys, that are just fighting for the love of the game. So I exist in both of those spaces. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum. And like you said, it requires a different approach for both of those. One group is prize fighters, and in MMA specifically, this very well. There's a lot of disciplines that they have to train on a weekly basis, So my job on the MMA side of things with a professional athlete is really trying to focus on what they're good at. And then the things that maybe what I would consider maybe a weakness or a deficit, we really try to negate those things, right? There's only so much time you have in a day, in a week, in a month, in a training camp that we can do to get ready for a fight. We see this all the time. You fight a good wrestler at a high level, like a world championship level, Justin Gaethje and Khabib, you can prepare, or Connor and Khabib, let's say, right? You can have a training camp for 14 months. It's not going to make you anywhere close to the wrestler that Khabib is, right? He spent his whole life doing it. So to me, in MMA at that level, it's more about, okay, we're going to sharpen our strengths and make sure we're really good at that. And then we're going to negate some of the weaknesses and do our best to not be overly exposed in those situations. But at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is there's just too much inside of MMA to be amazing at all of it. So you have to kind of pick and choose what we're going to be good at and what we can really do to minimize our exposure in some other areas. On the Muay Thai side, there are a lot of facets inside of Muay Thai too, right? There's the kicking game, the clinching game, the punching game, the elbowing game, whatever it is. There's a lot of variables there too, but those are also things that everyone works on a daily basis. So to me, Muay Thai is like more just sharpening the singular sword, a lot of repetition on all of those things. And like I said, we can be very good in all of those areas if we choose to be. It's just a little bit of a more narrow focus than on the MMA side. So when we're talking about training athletes in the different disciplines, that's kind of how I approach the philosophies to MMA athletes versus the Muay Thai athletes. And, at least so far that's worked out pretty well. But as always, like I said before, if something comes out that requires me to change that approach to either of those, I would be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, and it also speaks to the success of the gyms too. I think it's 6, 7 locations now for Easton.
Yeah, we're at 8. We just
8. Wow.
opened
Oh yeah.
Lowry at the start of this year, so eight right now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, very few gyms even make it past their first couple years. And Elliot Marshall was my first episode actually of Fight Capital. I was really blessed for him to come then, and it was horrible when I look back on it. Learned a lot since then, over a year into it. But I know that running these successful gyms are so much more than just the training. What do you think have been like the biggest challenges you see on the business sides of running a gym, and how Easton tackles those?
Yeah, I think in my experience and just kind of watching the landscape of Muay Thai and MMA gyms in particular in America, and man, to be honest, across the world, I've had the opportunity to see a lot of different gyms in Europe and Asia, all over the place. I would say kind of one of the common things and common challenges that we see the most with business owners in the martial arts side of things is they have a tendency to open gyms because they have a passion for martial arts, right? They have a passion for teaching Muay Thai. They have a passion for teaching MMA. They love doing that. And we know in reality that, operating a Muay Thai or an MMA gym, you need to be fluent on the business side. And then, the martial art is going to come after that. And unfortunately, I think most people end up kind of flip-flopping that equation where they say, well, I love the martial art, so I'm going to open this and then I'm going to spend every day teaching and it's going to be a lot of fun. When the reality is you open the business and then you spend every day behind the computer. You're trying to get members, you're trying to create sales, you're trying to get retention, and then you spend almost no time on the mat. So, I think there's just kind of this fallacy in this industry where people think that just because they love the martial art or they're an expert in the martial art, that they're going to be a successful business owner. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. You have to have both. You at least have to be partnered with someone who's fluent on the business side of things. Yeah, I think it took Easton a long time also to know that. But thankfully, we have the right people in the right places at Easton, people who do really care about the business and are savvy about the business. Elliot, Amal, Mike Tusignant, who's the CEO and president now, Ian Lieberman, all of these guys kind of at the top. We're very fortunate to have those people in place who understand how to run a successful business, but also how to understand how to have world-class martial arts under the same roof. So, like I said, man, I've been to a lot of gyms in the U.S., a lot of gyms across the world, and I can pretty confidently say that Easton's doing something that not a lot of other places are doing, not only because of the time that we've been in the industry, but the amount of success we've had. And, I will always say, anytime I do say that, I'm always quick to say that, we're doing a lot of things that other people aren't. But because of that, we also make a lot of mistakes because there's not necessarily a blueprint for this success. So I do think us being able to pivot, being able to understand when we make mistakes and how to course correct off of those also is what kind of keeps us at the forefront of things. So, yeah, at the end of the day, man, you have to have both. You have to understand that it's a business at the end of the day, and then you still have to have the martial arts expertise. And I do feel like the biggest challenge is that most people have the martial arts, but not the business side of things don't.
Yeah, I mean, to this day, still the best gym I've trained at. And I don't say that. I mean, luckily, I've been able to travel around the U.S. for the last couple of years and been to a lot of different gyms and some great ones too, but nothing really on the level of Easton, even just training between Boulder and Denver. I mean, it was really amazing. But what's been so cool for me, I mean, that was 5 years ago now. The Muay Thai programs at Easton have just grown exponentially. And I mean, we had full mats when we were there, but now you have more mats and then they're even fuller. I mean, what do you attribute that exponential growth to?
Man, I think a couple different things, to be honest, but I think the culture that we have at Easton and the community that we just bring, I think is really special. That's true for a lot of gyms too, right? But we want to make sure that we have a place where people feel safe and feel welcomed. One of my big philosophies is that we can make Muay Thai for everyone. That doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has to fight or should want to fight, but the sport of Muay Thai itself, we want to make accessible to as many people as possible. I know it's changed my life. I know it's changed your life, training and studying, the martial arts. We know how valuable the time inside the gym is to us and what it can do for us. So we want to be able to give that to as many people as possible through Muay Thai, through Jiu-Jitsu at Easton specifically. So I think just us trying to make the sport as accessible as possible to a lot of different people has helped kind of the growth that we have. And then, of course, like you can get people in the door with a good product, but it's also about keeping people there too, right? And I think that's where kind of the community and the culture of Easton comes into play. We have core values that we really, kind of live and die by at Easton now. We make all of our business decisions off of those. We decide who comes, who goes based off of those, hiring and firing. And I think having a very clear set of core values that we can operate the business on really has kind of seeped down into the culture, not only for the instructors, but for the students as well. And they can really feel those core values anytime they step into Easton. At least that's what our goal is. And having something like that in place, like I said, just goes back to making people feel safe, makes them feel welcomed in a community. And, at the end of the day, still too, like I said, this is the same place that we are producing local champions, national champions, world champions. That all exists in the same space. So I think just kind of fostering all of those things together under one roof and being really diligent about that and not bending our standards for anyone has allowed us to, kind of grow the program in the way that we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, well, I even think, I don't remember the man's name, but there was a very elderly gentleman, I think he was like in his 80s, who was training and showing up and doing the warm-ups, coming in and shadow boxing and hitting pads. I mean, what can you go where you have, people who are competing in Sparta and lion fights at the time, and then, having the same guy who's in his 80s training there and feeling comfortable to do it, right? And putting in the time. I mean, that's pretty rare to see. Just wrapping up here. Many aspiring coaches, the ones who are coming through there, I see so many of the same faces from when I was training there. They're looking up to you and seeing what you're doing in the game. What advice would you give to those aiming to establish themselves in both training the athletes and managing that business side of the coaching as well?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, if you're trying to do both, it's a lot of work. Not that it can't be done, but it's a lot. If you're going to do both, you got to be really committed to it. I would say the biggest thing, and for me, this is something that I, really kind of came up by and I see a lot of other people have success with. So it means a lot to me, but always continuing to invest in your own education. There's so much to learn on the Muay Thai side of things, MMA side of things, and the business ownership side of things. There's an infinite amount of resources out there on all of those. I will always be the first to say that Easton is not the end all be all or even close for Muay Thai information. We have a very small piece of the pie that we offer people, and I believe in that product, of course, but man, there's so much more outside of Easton in terms of Muay Thai. And it's our duty as coaches. If you want to be a good coach, if you want to be a good business owner, it's your job to go seek out more of that information and then bring it back to where you are to make your place better. So I always, the up and coming coaches, guys that are coaching underneath me or alongside me, I'm always asking them to go invest in themselves. Go take ref and judge seminars, go take Muay Thai seminars, go take Muay Thai business seminars, go to Thailand, go over for a couple months and train, right? All of this stuff is continuing education. It's going to make you a better coach. It's going to make your business better. I know it can be expensive sometimes, but like I said, that investment to me is priceless. It's something I did as I was coming up, and I really believe in that philosophy. So it's something that I still do to this day. I look at it, we're going out to Greece next week for the IFMA World Championships. Just the way it's set up right now for USA athletes and coaches, that's fully funded. I pay that out of my pocket to go over there to coach these athletes, to be on that world stage. And anything I learn in those 2 weeks is stuff that I bring right back to Easton, to the coaches that are there. I share that knowledge. I pass it down. Our athletes that are competing there, they come back, they bring it to their teammates, they bring it to the students that they teach to. All of that has immediate and direct impact on the program, and it makes it better overall. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in continuing education. Invest in yourself as a coach, invest in yourself as a business owner. Keep learning and keep growing always.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up to that, the level of talent that you guys have that come in for seminars, since my time there, Tiffany Van Soest, Carnage Corbett, who's become a friend since that time as well. And I mean, I'm jealous seeing the people that come through there every once in a while. I was like, man, I should be out in Colorado right now watching that happen. But yeah, man, it's been really a pleasure having you on today, and also just seeing where the game's grown since then. And hope you enjoy Greece and all the athletes have a successful trip out there.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the time. This one for me, like you said before, is a unique episode, right? Because we had the opportunity to train together for a while. Which is really cool. I don't normally have that with anyone that I've done interviews with before. So I appreciate that, man. It's great for me to see you staying in the game, staying involved, interviewing a bunch of great people. So that always makes me really happy to see, man. Keep doing your thing too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We'll have a great rest of the day.